Have you ever had a difficult employee or underperformer that you had to deal with, or maybe even a coworker? Maybe they were something like this guy in Jurassic Park.
You can run this whole park from this room with minimal staff for up to 3 days. You think that kind of automation is easy? Or cheap? You know anybody who can network 8 connection machines and debug 2 million lines of code for what I bid for this job? Because if you can, I'd love to see him try.
Imagine having to work with Newman every day. It would make going to work a nightmare. And forget about hitting your goals and making a name for yourself if this guy was on your team. But resolving your problems is easy if you know the right approach, which is exactly what I'm going to give you today as I share some of the concepts from my Minimalist Management and Leadership program, which is the culmination of over 15 years of success with some of the top companies in the world. And by the way, if you're the kind of person that likes to be the best at what you do, make sure to subscribe, ring the bell, and check the description for other free workshops and downloads. Before you can solve any problem, you have to understand what it is that you're actually solving. Otherwise, you'll waste your time and your energy, and it will feel like you're spinning your wheels and going nowhere. When you're dealing with a difficult employee, understanding the problem means understanding what kind of difficult employee you're dealing with. So we're going to break things down by each type of employee. I would recommend watching them all because sometimes people can be multiple types of difficult, and if you don't address all of the root causes of your problems, they're likely to return. Now we'll start off with the mildest type of difficult or underperforming employees and get more intense as we go through the list. So difficult employee type number 1 is the loafer. Loafers are like Peter in Office Space.
I generally come in at least 15 minutes late. I use the side door, that way Lumberg can't see me. And after that, I just sort of space out for about an hour.
Peter's goal was just to get through the day with the minimal amount of effort possible. You probably know some folks like this, and you have probably heard the Gallup statistic that only 30% of people in the US are engaged at their jobs, and in the rest of the world, those numbers are even lower. Now, most of the time, a lack of engagement comes from people running into too many obstacles at work. Unless you are a CEO or executive, and maybe even then, you've probably experienced this yourself. When you first start a new job, you're excited. You want to crush it. But then you start hitting impediments and roadblocks that slow you down. You find that you have to jump through hoops just to get your job done, and over time, you care less and less. And then one day, you find yourself wondering why you're even still at that job. Now, if impediments are the cause of your loafer, then you probably have more than one, because the things that cause one disengaged employee will generally cause others to do the same thing. The good news is that most loafers start off wanting to do a good job, so you can usually bring them back without much effort. All you have to do is start removing the impediments that are holding them back, which will also make your teams more productive anyway, and then help the loafers make a connection between doing a good job and that deep feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment that they were seeking when they joined the company. That's literally all it takes to turn things around, unless that person is too far gone, or they're the other type of loafer, a person who has no ambition in life and just wants to get through the day with minimal effort, kind of like the dude.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
When you have one of these folks, you know what to do.
You're fired!
It's better to just cut the cord and get it over with, because it's not the person you hire that will ruin your company, it's the one you fail to fire. The second type of difficult and underperforming employee is the poser. Posers are like the wild hogs. They pretend to be something they aren't. In the workplace, posers are people who lack the skill set to do their job effectively and have no business being on the team. Posers tend to stand out because of the frequent flaws in their work and because other employees and team members will want to avoid working with them. Now, there are two types of posers. Those who lack the ability because they were hired too early or they were given responsibility above their current skill level, and those who lack the aptitude. A poser that just hasn't built the skills yet can be developed, but it will take months or years. So you have to decide if it's worth the time and effort. In my opinion, if the person has the right attitude, they recognize their shortcomings, and they're eager to learn, they're generally worth keeping around, and they may become some of your best people down the road because they appreciate the investment you made in them. But sometimes posers become loafers because they fail repeatedly, and it wears on them over time, and that causes them to stop growing. Now, you can still reach these people, but it will be extra difficult because now you have at least 2 layers of challenge to solve. Then there are the posers that just don't have the aptitude. Unfortunately, there isn't much you can do to help them aside from moving them to another role. Your other option is just to let them go. Now, again, I would make that decision based on the person's attitude, their aptitude in the other areas, and the needs of your company. The third type of difficult employee is the prima donna.
Do you know how much that cost us in sponsorship dollars?
Well, with all due respect, Mr. Dowd, I had no idea you'd gotten experimental surgery to have your balls removed.
Prima donnas are like Ricky Bobby. They are generally highly skilled and they know it, but they are toxic employees and they will ruin your workplace culture. To give you an example, I was training a group of coaches while spinning up a transformation effort at a major financial organization. And one of the teams had not 1, but 2 prima donnas on it. They wanted to dominate every conversation. They even told me that they didn't need or want my help with coaching, even though the rest of the team wanted advice and assistance. Now, these folks generally did great work on their own, but their attitude was completely toxic to their team and it hindered their overall progress and happiness. Now, you have to address this type of situation quickly or you will risk losing other solid employees. Well, one option with prima donnas is to separate them from the rest of the team. Put them on their own special projects team with other people that have similar personalities and skills and where the prima donnas have limited interactions with other people. Now, the challenge with separation is that it can send the message to the rest of the organization that if you don't act right, you get rewarded. A better option is to provide some coaching. Help them make the connection between being able to work with others and being successful in their career. Do this by asking questions with a detached demeanor and letting them come to their own conclusions instead of trying to convince or persuade them. A third choice is to give the prima donnas more authority. People tend to live up to your expectations, and sometimes giving people more authority will help them understand the challenges that others are facing and why they're asked to do certain things certain ways. Just make sure that keeping the authority is contingent upon them demonstrating and maintaining the right behaviors. And the final option is the final option. Let them go. It can be incredibly difficult to let highly skilled people go, but you have to look at the big picture. If the prima donna is negatively impacting others and bringing the company down as a whole, you can't let it slide. Now, I would only do this after giving them multiple opportunities to succeed. The fourth type of difficult employee is the worst, the saboteur.
I could set the building on fire.
Most saboteurs aren't quite as open and direct about their intentions as Milton. I was coaching a group at a financial organization, and 2 of the managers I was working with would intentionally undo the work I was doing. I would get the teams excited about trying something new, and the managers would tell the team not to do it. They would fight and argue with any suggestions that I made, and one time I was meeting with a team and I got the team to commit to trying something new, and the manager literally barged into the room with 3 minutes left in an hour-long meeting to voice his concerns about what we were discussing. When I confronted him about it, he said he was just running late. Now, there's only one good option with a saboteur. You need to get rid of them. They are the worst kind of toxic employees because they have the wrong intentions and they lack integrity. So even if you can get them to be on board right now, you won't be able to trust them not to cause problems again. Now, that said, be careful not to confuse a saboteur with someone who surfaces problems, which leads us to the next type of problematic employee, the naysayer.
Lovely day, isn't it?
Wish I could say yes, but I can't.
Naysayers are people that shoot down every idea that you put out and just have a general pessimistic attitude, like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Before you label someone a naysayer, you need to identify what's driving that person. Sometimes a person that seems like a naysayer is actually a great employee that's just frustrated with things or sees better alternatives. These people are rock stars waiting for you to discover their talent. But there are also people that just have a poor outlook on life. These people will drag everyone down with them. You could try to offer counseling, but you have to be aware that while they're dealing with their own issues, they're still impacting everyone around them, and the needs of the one cannot outweigh the well-being of the team or the organization. To tell the difference between rock stars and naysayers, you need to find out if the person is challenging or just taking a dump on ideas that are thrown out. Now, many rock stars will throw out alternative ideas on their own, but it's also possible that they've been conditioned not to make suggestions. So ask them for their ideas and don't be too quick to dismiss them. A rock star's ideas will probably be innovative and may push the envelope. They may even require significant change in your organization. Now, weak leaders can misinterpret these challenges as the actions of a naysayer, but strong leaders like you will recognize that these are the ideas that you need to propel you and your career and your business forward. Anjali Sood is a great example of a rock star. She challenged the status quo at Vimeo when she was in a marketing role, and that led to the company changing their entire strategy. Now she's the CEO, and Vimeo is a billion-dollar company. But if her management chain had labeled her as a naysayer, neither she nor the company would be where they're at today. Now, that said, rock stars can sometimes need a bit of training and coaching on how to challenge without putting others off. This is one of the key concepts that we cover in Minimalist Management, so you may want to consider that as an option for your rock stars. But switching back to the naysayers, they generally won't have as many ideas about how to fix things. They'll be the ones that say there's no chance of things changing, and they will have given up. These folks can sometimes be revitalized by changing their situation, send them to training, help them find a better role, or just have a discussion about their needs and desires. But if things don't change quickly, it might be time for them to change companies. While each type of difficult employee or underperformer requires a different approach, the general pattern is the same. Be empathetic, try to help them, give them the opportunity to succeed, and if they don't, it's time to let them go. If you follow these steps, other people in the organization will respect you for it and they will appreciate it. It also sends the right kind of message that you care, but you won't tolerate sustained poor performance. Now, if anything in this video has resonated with you today, hit those like and subscribe buttons to help support the channel and spread the word. See you in the next one.